Hello, I'm Li Xuan He, and this is my sign name. Welcome to the Steph What interview. Today we are interviewing Jennifer Manning, and this is her sign name. We're looking forward to learning more about you. Can you tell us more about who you are? Hello, thank you for welcoming me into this interview today. What can I say about who I am? Firstly, I'm deaf. I'm from Quebec. My first language is LSQ. I'm an artist, and I've been an artist for so long, you can practically say I was born an artist. I love art and being a part of the art world. I can delve into my art experience more later. How did you get involved in the art community? I started when I was a toddler, at home, dressing up in my parents' clothes with my cousins. We would come up with a show performance and invite our family members to watch us perform. Once I started attending a mainstream school with hearing people, I was more involved in acting. In high school, I continued to dance, act, model, and I've continued being involved in art. This is my passion, and it has been since I was a kid. How did COVID impact you as an artist? Before COVID, I've been in physical contact with other people, rehearsing on stage, connecting with the audience, all kinds of things theater has to offer. Until COVID happened, I was pushed back. I was alone on Zoom. I did a big performance on Zoom recently, and it felt weird. In comparison, usually we connect with the team in our warm-ups before performing, and continuing our support throughout the act. On Zoom, when it was my turn to be spotlit, I'd get into character and shine, and as soon as my part is done, I'm off, and then suddenly there's no one else around me. I feel disconnected, waiting until it's my turn to perform in character and shine. But behind the curtains, I'm alone. It feels different. The group connection doesn't feel as strong. But now that COVID is starting to dissipate, soon we'll be together in person again, and I can't wait. Yes, definitely. So by now you're a little used to it, thankfully technology connecting us with each other, right? Right, I agree. Technology is amazing and constantly evolving. The perk is that more people can watch us from far away instead of added expenses for flight or other transportation. It's also accessible to folks with wheelchairs that wouldn't have been able to enter the theater due to the steps. There's many different cool bonuses to it in accessible Zoom performance. Yes, there's positives to it, but it's also important to think positive and be hopeful that things will get better. I've been noticing now that Zoom, along with other new technology, will continue to be merged with in-person theater. For example, if there's a large performance, you can use the stage as the platform for watching, and also have folks be able to watch the show online, for those who are not in the area or can't physically watch the show. 2 ways in 1. That's true. So you know both ASL and LSQ. How does knowing both ASL and LSQ benefit you as an artist? One main way that it benefits me is that it opens up more opportunities. ASL is part of a very large community, and I'm proud to be a part of it and know many people in ASL, especially in the art world. I see many mechanics, people who come up with ideas, traders, all kinds of people. I collect as much information as I can and bring it back to our small LSQ community. The ASL community is in the States and Canada, 2 large countries with endless resources that can be traded for support. There's only a small community for LSQ. There's not much out there for our community to borrow from. ASL and LSQ are very different and can't trade resources. The LSQ community would often have to set up their own resources with limited access for funds and development. The benefit for me is the ability to be in ASL spaces to access ideas and elevate my community. It seems like challenges can help you create more ways to connect. I think creating new ways to connect despite language barriers on an individual basis is something that everyone can be creative with. It's more about access to materials, resources, outreach. For example, the Sound Off Festival in Edmonton, it's mainly an ASL space. but we managed to have my group perform there in LSQ for the first time ever. The name of our group is Myth of Rare Hands, and it was thanks to the ASL folks for welcoming us into that space. We can see that it doesn't matter what language we use, ASL or LSQ, but that it's more important to elevate deaf talent and create connections. That is true. It's important to have an availability of resources, and that can give us more opportunities to get involved. Right. Can you tell us more about your recent projects? The most recent project is the Myth of Rare Hands, and this is how it's signed in LSQ. 3 of us, comedic performers. We started last year to create this script with a director on stage, and the director was also deaf. They helped us create a modified story from Cinderella. Cinderella originally lost her shoe, but in this play, lost their glove. The setting in the play is in a place that is already accessible to deaf folks and are more aware of deaf culture. A place that used to be so clueless and placed large barriers on deaf people have started becoming more accessible for deaf folks. And that's where the show is based. We will be continuing to travel and perform for 1 more year in different locations. We hope to perform at places outside of Quebec. We performed this at Edmonton, and it was a huge success. We enjoyed our time there and had very nice feedback. Many people have said that they enjoyed our show, and it's a big success for us to perform for the first time in the ASL community. We had an ASL interpreter while we performed in LSQ, and it gave me motivation to work harder. There's another project. About a month ago, I tried creating a poem for the first time that was entirely in LSQ. It's not a poem translated from written words, but it is a poem created in LSQ and a visual vernacular, and I will be releasing the video soon. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, to write a poem in French and then translate it into LSQ and visual vernacular. And then I finally did it last year. I posted a video and it was successful. I'm also becoming more interested in a different method. There is interest in developing a poem not from written French, but entirely developed using only LSQ and visual vernacular. So the project I did last month was my first experience in doing this, and it's been interesting. I'm still working on the logistics of poetry derived from written words and poetry derived from only sign language. It's still exciting to see. You've mentioned visual vernacular a few times, so in case the audience doesn't know what that is, can you explain it? Visual vernacular comes from a language that isn't sign. It's like miming without words, a culture that deaf people already know. In the way that you would sign the word tree, in visual vernacular you gesture something that resembles the trees moving past you as you move through a forest, or when a car speeds, the tires spinning fast as it can with smoke coming out from it. Visual vernacular is more of a performance or miming, no words, just visual gestures. I get what you mean. Do you have any future plans for your art? I have a long list of many things I want to do, but I'll pick a few out for the near future. The LSQ community will soon have a big project that will be announced, and that's related to Sunday's performance. As an individual artist, I have more other poem-related projects that I'm still working on. I used to be part of a show from a French perspective with a hearing co-star for about 3 years. This fall, the show will continue, but an English version. This means the show will be in English and in ASL. Previously, it was in French and LSQ. This fall, I will be working with a new co-star who speaks English. The previous one had a French accent, and they're looking for someone with an English accent. For me, I will be doing the same performance, but instead of signing an LSQ, I will now sign an ASL. I will be performing an ASL for approximately 2 to 3 years and will be touring the States and Canada. I never thought that the accents play a huge role in theater, that just the translating the language isn't enough. When a hearing person speaks, they have accents. In English, French, wherever they're from, they have accents. The last actor who was with me had a very strong Quebecois French accent. After the play transitioned into an English and ASL version, the new English role needed to have a strong English accent. After the French actor left, we found a new actor from Ottawa, Ontario. The hearing world finds accents very important, it seems. You've mentioned that accents are important in hearing roles. Do you find that also applies to signing roles? Yes, I agree. I believe that for any programs or projects, it is preferred for the signer to be using their first language. For me, I learned ASL in Alberta when I lived there for 10 years. In the 10 years that I lived there, I threw myself into the language and felt comfortable in my knowledge of it. In this case, with me transitioning from LSQ to ASL on stage, I hired an ASL coach who is also deaf. They sat down with an English version of the script. And translated it all into ASL, which was also their first language. I would follow their translation, and they observed my performance throughout to ensure that it's right. It's important to make sure that the ASL coach's first language is ASL. In all the performances you've been in, has there always been an ASL coach? It will be my first time having an ASL coach in this upcoming performance. The director, who is also hearing, had asked if I was comfortable with translating the English into ASL. I said no, I preferred someone whose first language was ASL, and so they found one for me, and that person's name is Joanne Bryan. They're an expert, and so they'll be the one translating it into ASL. I believe it's my first time experiencing something like that. Yeah, my first time. Do you feel that it's helpful having an ASL coach? Yes. It's helpful because ASL isn't my first language. I don't want to feel overly confident in translating ASL, and then go in and have some words maybe translated wrong, or have the effects of LSQ still involved. I don't want people in the audience to get confused in some parts while I still think everything's fine. I would feel much better having someone who is deaf and their first language being ASL translating for this play experience to be 100% in ASL and match audience expectations. That's true, audience satisfaction is important. Do you have any advice for deaf artists? Yes. If you have the talent and the motivation, go with it. Don't wait. No one will pick you up and elevate you. Don't wait for someone. Go ahead and do it yourself. Try building small projects. It's important to start small. Don't jump into a large project. Start small until you start finding new things. And don't be shy. Go out and show your work to a small audience. Start building on that. Make people know who you are, your skills, and your motivation. It's important to be patient. It will take a lot of time, and it's worth the patience. That's what I do in working hard for myself and getting to know the scene. You will be rewarded. Patience is definitely key. Some people think you can just skip to the end and reap the rewards. You still have to take the steps, and it's not easy. We all have to go through hard times. Right. No work is easy to become successful. Work hard to succeed. Right. What gives you joy? I love my work as an actor. I love acting. And that means my passion will be carried all the way over to the audience. I love seeing the audience exude excitement in seeing my work, seeing it make them laugh, cry, wonder, get angry. Each audience is always so different in their opinions and perspectives. It's never the same. I like giving the audience a reason to turn on their brains and look invested in our show, or in any art form. To give them little sprinkles of myself to swirl around in their heads, to wonder and have it stick, to add something to their lives, a memory, a story, something that gives them joy in thinking about the stories we trade with others. That's what I love about it. It's fascinating that you've seen people exhibit such different responses, and it can be based on their own experiences from childhood, which can be influential and very different for each person. Yes, you're absolutely right. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share with the hearing world? Yes, for sure. You know, now we're starting to build a bridge with deaf artists and hearing artists. Bridges are being built. The most important thing I can say to the hearing world is to be patient and keep an open mind. I don't want to see the bare minimum in accessibility and them thinking that hiring an interpreter is good enough, because that's not true. You can go much deeper than that. Hiring an interpreter is important, yes. You're still providing them access. You need to also learn their culture. You need to understand their paths. We still have some frustrations that hearing people might not be able to see, and we need you to be patient with us. Deaf people are asking for something that helps them feel like they're having the same experience as their hearing counterparts. Not exactly just for equality, it's not the right term. To feel more aligned in the same path, doing the same project. They need to understand what to give to bring that same experience of sameness. It's hard to explain. I hope you understand what I mean. I understand what you mean, yeah. It's important to work together, to feel aligned, and keep an open mind. If you're not sure what to do, it's important to ask deaf people. It wouldn't hurt to ask. Yes. And I also want to add that I want to see more workshops and performances that are accessible to deaf people. With accessibility being more common nowadays, you'll notice that they have 1 or 2 shows that are accessible. But when it comes to the deaf community accessing them, normally not all deaf people want to see it. There's a wide variety of deaf people and they don't all like the same thing. You don't want them to go to a show only because it's accessible. You want them to go to a show because they want to see it. So I would love to see more options. Make the list of shows that are accessible a larger list. Encourage people to look through the list and pick a show they want to see, not just because it's accessible. That makes the experience more equal to hearing people. They have a long list of options to sift through. That choice should also apply to deaf people instead of being only limited to shows that are accessible while others remain inaccessible. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share with the deaf community? First, to not lose faith. I know we've been suffering with the amount of barriers. To not have a safe space yet. We've only just started, but I want you all to keep faith. It will get bigger. Hearing people will open the door of opportunities wider. Keep faith. That's true. There's more recognition of deaf actors, like in Coda. Yes. This year there's been more deaf people being recognized. You're right. I'm only worried that we're only a period of time and attention. A time of awe. And then by next year, the attention goes on to something else. Yeah, like a period of time after time. I hope that other deaf actors notice this momentum and attention and keep it building. Do not forget about it and focus on something else. I hope they'll keep gaining the momentum. I also find it important to have Deaf Awareness Month. Yes, that's right. Like what Troy Kotzker mentioned when he received the award, that he won the award not for himself, but for his community. And that statement was so powerful. That sentence stuck with me. I want everyone to think like that sentence. To be in it together and to move together. True, a big group is more powerful than just one person. Right, you can't succeed a lot by yourself. You need to be with people to support each other. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? We need to also think about the next generation of youth. I want people to continue being role models for them. We've seen earlier generations work hard, and we've looked up to older deaf leaders and deaf artists. Keep that momentum going. Give them opportunities because our elders worked hard for it. Let us give opportunities to our youth. I hope the youth in the next generation don't give up and they keep going. I agree with you. We're so beautiful in our art, and it's incredibly beautiful and special. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for interviewing with the Deaf What Legacy Project. We also want to acknowledge the Canada Council for the Arts for funding this project. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, too, for inviting me here today. I really enjoyed it.